Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for stopping in again on another episode of Military to Civilian, the road to ultimate, success and freedom, I suppose you could call it, instead of darkness, right? That some people do deal with. We got my main man Justin here today. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing blessed, pretty much blessed. I mean, a brother in arms, two brothers in arms sitting here talking and about to try to change the game and help our brothers out by, being real, not holding anything back. I mean, to me, that's a step forward in the right direction for our brothers and sisters. So I'm honored to be here, brother.
Hey, man, appreciate you answering the call to action. So, if you don't mind, for the viewers, everybody listening in, give us a little backstory on you, man. Let us know, what made you join the military. Give us what branch you were in, and a little bit about your time in. Where'd you go? What locations? What do you remember, good and bad? And then once you get done with that little intro, go ahead and get us to when you start thinking about transitioning out the military, bro.
All right. Well, quick thing, I'm a Tennessee boy. Even though I was born in a town I will not even ever tell anybody to agree to. I lived since I was a year old in Tennessee, then on and off because of the military and being a family man. But uh, joined the army and from '05 to '08. Was at Jackson for basic at AIT. I was a 63 Bravo at the time because that's what it was. They changed it since then. It's a light wheel vehicle mechanic, but just like that when you're in the military, you cross train in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
My first duty station being at Fort Campbell, I was part of the 80. I was a 86 Combat Support Hospital. I was their mechanic, but being at a medical hospital, we had to learn, combat life saving skills and stuff and get all certified in that. But I was there at Campbell, and then Jackson. Like I said, Jackson was basic in AIT, and then after Campbell, went to Riley.
Okay.
Uh, Granted, I was actually supposed to go to Germany for my first duty station, but because my mom being sick, and then I also have a brother that retired last year after 27 years in the Air Force.
Nice.
All his sons are either prior military or current military, and he has three boys. So we have a big military history in our background that if I did the correct research, our military service stems all the way back to the American Revolution.
Wow.
So that's something to be very proud of. And that's if I did my homework right.
Yeah.
But so don't quote me on that. I'm pretty confident, but Google's not always your friend.
Oh, you're good, man. Ain't no one fact checking us like that. They
But
gotta be. They better get on to something else if they are. Let's go.
right. Let's see. But yeah, I went to Riley. If you've been there, I'm sorry.
That's the
It's
second time I heard that today, dude. So
Riley is. It has I got good memories there. That one thing kind of overshadows it, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Riley wouldn't. It had its good times, especially in Aggieville. But Aggieville got a kind of ruined for me because of the incident I told you about.
yeah,
But I mean, it's not bad. But if you like tornadoes and streets, and I mean, I'm talking big old things of tumbleweeds. I mean, they had good concerts and good hunting and fishing in the area,
yeah.
but you didn't want to go to Junktown. And if anybody that's been to Raleigh that watches this don't know when I say Junktown, they already know what I'm talking about. But
I don't even know what it is, but I know it's some kind of code for something, man. Go ahead. Yeah, I feel you on that.
no, it's a city. We just call it
Oh,
Junktown. It's Junction City, Kansas, but we call it
oh.
Junktown. But I might ask you this: do you edit and stuff on these?
Nah, not yet. I ain't found nobody to do it yet, but we
I
just
might be able
live.
to
We
help you
live
out
and
with
uncut.
that
Okay. Yeah.
because I did that before. I did that in high school. Actually, I did the news thing for Rebel Beat. I mean, I actually was
Okay.
in front of the screen, but I also did that. Completely off topic, but anyways,
Nah, you right on target, man. Let's get it.
what other question did you have? I want to make sure I
Oh
answer all
no,
these
you
for you.
good. So I was just saying, like, you let everybody up to like what you did. You got us to Junktown. So you said don't go there. You at Riley. What? How long? So you were at Campbell for what, like a year? You weren't there that long then. Year and a
Uh,
half, 2 years, or like not much.
I spent a year and a half at Campbell and a year and a half at Riley, and 6 months basic in AIT.
I got you. So were you ready were you thinking about getting out the army when you got to Riley? Were you thinking about staying in? What were you doing?
Uh, that's the reason why I pushed it to try to re-enlist, because of, how I was telling you about the incident about being hurt. My commander told me to get to the doctor. I
Yeah.
pushed it off because I had a feeling that when I did go, that was going to happen. And every time you re-enlist, you got to go through a medical evaluation, correct?
Yeah.
That's where they got me, and that's what I was scared of. That's the reason why when my commander never ordered me, but he highly suggested. So if it's not a direct order, I'm gonna leave it alone. They caught me when I went to re-up because I plan on doing 20 and retiring, and that's what kills me, because August 31st of this year would be 18 years. I'll be 2 years from retirement right now.
Yeah.
But God had other plans for me, so.
Most definitely. So, did you have a plan for you to get out the army, or what that look like when you were at Riley getting ready to get out? When you found out you couldn't re-up and stuff?
I ain't gonna lie, brother. It it hurt bad. Because that was my life plan. 20 years retire and just live life after that. Spend time with my family, and I would probably do some part-time work, own some businesses and stuff, which hopefully one day is still in the works, because 17 credit hours away from my bachelor's in business management, organizational leadership. I do advocate. Like I told you, I do have my nonprofit that I'm slowly working on building. Uh, I like working with other veterans in any other endeavors like yours, the podcast. My buddy that has the tattoo shop, trying to work with him, and I might even be one of his first people if we get everything passed the way he's wanting to do it. And one of his, I guess he'd be my Yoda, but in the tattoo sector.
There you
But
go.
really, just trying to make things happen. Uh, I struggled a lot with the transition because getting out, and that's one thing, like I said, we'll talk about later, and then maybe we'll have a podcast one time about it too when the time's right. But that's kind of one of the big things about my nonprofit is one of the, what I call it, we got different phases, and one of them is transition, because that's really, if you got to really focus on one area of trouble, that if we can fix it, we wouldn't be having veterans committing suicide and all this stuff. And that's the transition area, because they're sitting us, getting us ready for war. But then when it's time to get out, they're like, okay, here, watch this video. Okay, best of luck. That's where they're failing us. And the transition part is one of the phases of what I'm trying to do with my nonprofit. And yeah, the transition was very hard. Got out, was already dealing with my buddy Ortiz that had got stabbed and killed by a sister in arms. And after that, about 7 or 8 months after I got out, my mom passed away. And my mom raised me by herself, raised 3 kids by herself. I, grew up young, working on a farm at 10 to help her, because in 93 she was told she had 3 years to live, which she lived in 2009, and that was with no chemo or anything. She was a fighter, just like I am. I get that from my mom. Hence why I'm still here today. Compared to almost 7 years ago, I was at the end of a shotgun barrel, and I haven't looked back since. But yeah, man, it's just it's time for change. Straight up, like that's just how I feel. And come hell or high water, I will make absolute certain that things are changed so our brothers and sisters can prosper and grow beyond our wildest dreams. And we don't gotta worry about the 22 a day, because a lot of people don't know that 22 day is actually almost doubled now. We're up to almost 44 veterans a day, and we're going in the wrong direction. I would like to get it to zero, but it takes an army or an air force, or to be able to do that. And but also at the same time, you got to have the right individuals that really put their heart and soul into it, not in it for the wrong reasons. And that's why when I seen what you had put up, and I was like, and just from our talk, I could tell you're sincere just as much as I am. So that right there, I believe in what you're doing, and I'm more than happy to support you in any way possible that I can.
I appreciate you, man, on that. That's respectable to say, and like, man, more props to you to get through everything that you were going through. It seems like when you were getting ready to get out, you saw that crazy stabbing. Then the next thing what happens? You getting out, you're dealing with people committing suicide. Like, did those guys that you know that you got tattooed on you? Did you know them? I'm sorry. Did they do it when they first got out the military, or was it like, did it happen over time? Was it one day out? Was it like in the first couple
Uh,
months? Do you remember, or was it kind of all scattered?
uh, Ortiz, he passed away in '07. That was a stabbing. My birth, between, I'm gonna say 2018 and 2022, maybe 23. That's where I lost 4 people that I was close to.
All suicide.
All suicides in the last 5 years. And
Man.
there was somebody that wasn't even a brother in arms or no military relation. But on Thanksgiving, not last year, but the year before that, I got a call from his girlfriend. She was at work, and she's like, "Go over there and check on him." And I actually talked the knife and pills out of his hand. And until this very day, every time I see him, he thanks me because I sat down, I talked to him, was real with him, told him, if he needed help, I'd be there right beside him, and treated him just like he was a brother in arms. Because to me, and I know this is getting out of the context, but to me, when we have a bigger pandemic on our hands than COVID was, that is mental health.
Oh
And
yeah.
that it's very serious within the military ranks, but it's worldwide, and especially in the U.S. But our military ranks are suffering the absolute worst from it.
Yeah, you're right, because it seems like the common denominator in that problem is everyone has go through mental health problem. Like, dude, you don't have to go to war to experience PTSD. Like we were talking about earlier. If you see someone that if you see a stranger get stabbed, you're gonna have PTSD from that. If you're sitting there watching that, sorry to tell you that. You know what I mean? So it's not just the military people, but for the people that are in the military, like ourselves, that saw those events. Like, did you go get mental health help after you saw that?
That was that
You,
pride. That right there is what I was telling you about. Um, when you're in the military, I ain't gonna say they're like some people could call it like my ex used to say to me. We were I ain't gonna say trained, but we were kind of
programmed?
programmed to
Yeah.
be a certain way, tough, not weak, prideful. And for the longest time, I mean, I got out in '08 and he passed away in '07. I didn't seek help for almost 10 years
Wow.
afterwards. And I mean, it started getting real bad. 2014, my son was roughly a year old, and that's when because I had the stress of trying to be the man of the house and being a good father and providing all that stress, and then on top of that, the stuff with the PTSD was still lingering. My mom passing was still lingering. Then actually, when I found out that uh, my son's mother was pregnant with him in February of 2013, within a matter of 2 weeks, I lost 3 good friends. But it wasn't, military, but it was my youth minister growing up. Um, Man, I'm trying to think. But it was Billy Pitts, who was a very close friend of our families for the longest time. And somebody, I'm having a brain fart right now, but within a matter of 3 weeks or 2 weeks, I lost 3 close people. So it like from '07 to 2013 was just a big old buildup. And that's when the wall fell and I crumbled. And, I completely bottomed out in 2016 and hit the rock bottom. And everybody hits rock bottom in different ways. And that's that from that moment on, from that incident that happened and how I explained, what his mom did, which I still thank her every day for.
Yeah.
Um, that was the moment. And I was like, even though I know bad days are going to happen, that's just part of life. I wasn't going to look back. I was going to honor my son. I was going to honor my mother. I was going to honor my brothers and sisters, whether they were alive or they're in the great halls of the fallen. But I was never going to look back again. I never wanted to get in that dark spot because it's not a place that I would want anybody to be, not even my worst enemy.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm in agreement with you on that. What did what did those 10 years like? Did the 10 years of like that build up? What did that look like? Was you just like had your head down, working, and sort of just trying to deal with it, or was it like a
Uh,
were you contemplating trying to seek help, or like what was it for you?
never contemplated. I was always self medicating, trying to keep myself busy. I was going to school. I was drinking. Me here in a second, I'll give you a little bit more background on something else. I was popping pills that were prescribed to me, but and that's one thing I you don't see. I only take two meds now because they put me on so many meds that I feel like I was a walking zombie. Because I
Yeah,
mean, I did seek some help, but all they wanted to do is just here, take this, here, take this, here, take this, and now I'm to the point where I go to the doctor. I'm like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want that. I want the bare minimum amount. If you have any healthier options, please let me do that. Like for my pain, I do physical therapy. I go to the gym. Uh, I do. I used to be a medical cannabis patient, and I am an advocate for that. Not as big as an advocate as I want to be, because when you're in a Bible Belt state like Tennessee, it's frowned upon. So I just kind of, I have tried to help out. Like this past year, they had a thing called Veterans Day on the Hill, which was in Nashville. It was canceled because of ice and stuff, but they still did send us an email saying, hey, we would still like y'all's input, which was showed to the Senate, state Senate. And it was still shot down because it's just like medication. You can't abuse cannabis, but if you dose it out just like medicine, it's a lot healthier alternative. And I've literally met a millionaire that used to be so far gone on some of the hardest stuff you would think of,
yeah,
is now a millionaire because he turned to cannabis and does it the right way. He's not like a frequent flyer mile smoker. Or, some people use suppository. Some people, I've never did that, but I don't
yeah,
frown it because everybody's different. And what works for them is what's best for them.
yeah.
But
Most definitely.
there's a lot of science behind it that a lot of people don't understand. And I think just people need to be more open minded to try to healthy alternatives, because, this is something that comes from the ground. It's natural, but at the same time, you're sitting there letting pharmaceutical companies make it big off of giving you, here, take this, it'll help out with this, but the side effects is suicidal ideations, this, that, and the other, and it's just not worth it when you can find a healthier route in many other aspects, just not cannabis. But that's one of the many things you could turn to, other than, hard drugs, medications, alcohol, and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're right, man. It's sometimes those things that they give you aren't the best option. They're just treating your symptoms, and that's the easiest thing that they could do for you, or that's what they're on in the Western medicine world, I suppose, right? So,
Well, I've learned, and I will never get political with these things, but I have learned one thing about the insurance industry is they're always going to put, especially with the VA, they want to put a band-aid on an open wound. So in the long run, you wind up spending more money for that bigger surgery, and they make a big chunk of change off of it, than sitting there and actually putting you in the right situations to be able to fix it right then and there, because then they don't make no money off of it. And that's
oh
just
yeah,
point blank period.
yeah. So, did you? All right, let's go back a little bit to when you got out, real quick. Did you get any disability when you got out? Did you have rating?
I was at 20% through the Army, which I could have reevaluated it because I got a letter saying about certain things, and I could reevaluate it, which I wish I would have, but at the time I was not in the right state of mind. but I probably could have got pushed up to 30%, got medically retired. But yeah, I did get a 20%, but it changed into 40 in VA numbers when I first got out. But it took like I got out in no way, and I literally part of me thinks this is the man upstairs work, but my mom passed away April 18th of 2009. That very next month, I got my first 40% payment.
Okay. Is that where you're still at now?
No, I'm at 80%, but I'm also being paid at 100% rate because I'm unemployable.
How'd you end up being able to get that for you?
I struggled a lot with jobs because of and I know part of it's the PTSD simply due to the fact because in the military we're ingrained a certain way. We work as a team. You call people on their shit. Excuse my French if we're not
No, you
supposed to
good.
cuss.
You're all right.
And everybody's held accountable. But in the civilian sector, it's not like it is in the military. And I struggle with that because, like, I would sit there and say, "Hey, man, I would be respectful about it. I was like, hey, you're not pulling your weight. Can you pick it up?" That didn't work. I go to the supervisor, and nothing would never get done. And I'm just like, you know what? I ain't gonna sit there and bust my ass while everybody else is just twiddling their thumbs and being on their phone like always. So I was like, screw it, I'm done. And then I struggle with that with a lot of jobs. And that's the reason why I kind of went around to try to figure out something I could do more, seclusive, where I could kind of sit back and I wouldn't have many people to work with. I did, I was a manager for a couple of years, and I excelled in leadership because I have this philosophy on you either have your bosses or your leaders. A boss will take all the credit and make everybody work their asses off, and then a leader is somebody that when he's got his free time, because as a leader, you do got stuff you got to take care of first. But if you have any downtime, instead of just sitting in the office, you go out there and you rub elbows with everybody else and show a united front.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, they're totally two different things, man, for sure. So, what do you want to do? What do you want? What are you thinking you want to get into?
Well, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. My one thing is my nonprofit. I'm very big on that. That's one of the things that's really on my heart because I love to help people. Uh, One day I hope to build some kind of empire, and I'm not just talking certain businesses. I would like to try. I've ran bars in the past. I would like to open some kind of bar, even though I'm enabling people to drink. But you know, I'm trying to be a businessman, but I'm also going to make sure the customers are taken care of. Like I'll set up a system to make sure they get home safe. Construction site, I do have heavy equipment certification. I'll probably start some kind of like I want to build an empire for one day for my son to take over, but also try to remember to keep in our family to be humble and not let that money get to because that's what happens to a lot of people. They get that money and they're like, man, and that's just not me. Growing up in the country, growing up with a single mom of three. I lived in government housing, got food stamps and everything, and I seen that part of the life. And I wasn't mad at my mom because she was sick and she had no other options. And I always told myself I was going to take what my mom was as a person, take what I always needed in the day as from my father who wasn't really in my life, but it wasn't his fault because I didn't meet him until I was 10 years old. But I wanted to, when I became a father, I was so happy the day I found out that she was pregnant. But I also, once I got everything together, I was like, I want to be able to sit there and leave a legacy and make sure that nothing but good comes from my family name and make sure that we leave a legacy behind of caring, but also being stern, giving, but also being mindful, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You're on the right track. So I'm sure your mom would be proud of you, dude. You got to do that. You got to, especially she tried to, our parents only do the best they can, man. They do what they know how to do. Some people think like it's not, people don't do stuff because they don't really want to. I mean, I'm sure they do, but like parents and stuff like that, like, everyone's doing what they can, for the most part out there. So got to salute your mom, man, for, doing everything for you and your siblings. What's one thing you wish you would have known when you were in the military before you got out? Or a couple things, doesn't have to be one thing. Like what's your take on getting out the military that you wish you would have known before?
Oh man, that's a toughie. I'm gonna have to go with two different things. One is knowing that no matter what the situation, no matter anything, what you're going through and stuff, we're not the only ones going through it in the ranks, and we're not alone. We have each other because getting out, we feel there's part of us that kind of loses that brother and sisterhood, and you know, and then the whole pride thing, just because we're ingrained in the military, once we get out, we can be human beings. We can always honor our brothers and sisters by living up to the code that we were ingrained with and being, even as civilians, being, positive influences in our communities, in our state, or in our country. But, yeah, definitely the pride thing was because we were taught not to be weak, and we got emotions, and don't let them build up and turn you into this monster, basically.
Yeah, indeed. What would you say to someone that might be struggling with like those suicidal ideations? Like what was a telltale factor that got you from the other side of the 12 gauge?
Uh, the thing that got me through was like I said, I grew up with a mom that at an early age in '93 she was diagnosed and gave 3 years, which she lived to 2009. I knew I had my mom's fighting mentality in me and a never quit attitude. But the one thing that really pushed me through is I didn't want my son to see me fall because, I mean, you can call it pressures of being a parent, which in a sense it really is, but it's a good pressure. But I didn't want my son to see me fall so far and then not have his dad to be around to see him grow and help him be the man that he needs to be. So if I had to pick one particular thing, it was definitely my son. After that incident happened, that really was like, I want to honor my brothers and sisters. That's a no brainer. I want to honor my mom, but my son needed me. So, son number one, mother and brothers and sisters in arms, number two, definitely.
No, man, I'm glad that you here today because I'm excited to see what you're gonna do with your nonprofit and with your empire you're gonna build, man. For your son to see you grow that because I got a son too, man. And it's like it didn't get easier, when we got these kids. It only gets harder, but you're only gonna get dealt what you can deal with. So it's nothing you can't make it through. It's like we're either in a storm, we're going to a storm, or we're coming out of a storm, but it's always storming, man, at the end of the day. But, there's a lot of things that we could be thankful for. I mean, dude, you've been in the military, man. Not too many people join the military to even go through the fun or the suck, whatever you want to call it. But it's like, man, some people did that and like look at them now, they're not here with us anymore. And it's like, man, that's got to be addressed. And I'm glad that you've been able to be vulnerable and be honest on here and just, connect, and tell your story because I know there's other people out there that they've dealt with suicide. That's or suicidal thoughts or people that have committed suicide. And that's just like they always say, it's like a permanent solution to a temporary problem, man. You know what I mean? Like, dude, if you would have done that, exactly. Where would your son be right now? Or who would he be with? Who would he be with? It's like, dude, can't even fathom that, man. We're here to guide him up till we
with,
go.
with the direction his mom's went, I wouldn't be too happy with how she's doing her job. And I hate saying that on this podcast, but I'm always going to be straightforward and real with anything I talk about. But I won't never degrade her because that's me. That that makes me look worse than her. So, I continue to pray for her and hope for the best and that things will turn around. But until then, I know what I got to do. I know what the mission is, both with being a father and my endeavors, just like me trying to be, like I told you about my empire, my goal is to give back as much as I can. don't get me wrong. We all want our toys. We all want to have fun, but I don't want to live with outside my means. I don't care if I'm a millionaire. I will donate most of my money and invest it in stuff, but I would rather, buy a decent amount of land, farm, hunt, and all of it on there, and just be able to give back. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's not about the recognition. It's about changing lives and, keeping my son humble. But I really want to be able to change lives, because that to me brings me joy in my life. Seeing my son smile brings joy in my life. I used to be so worried, money, 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 money. But now I'm like, you know what? As long as I got my son, as long as I got brothers and sisters to help save, I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Yeah, I can't blame you, man. Nothing like helping others. What's one word you would summarize your military career in?
We're gonna take out all the bad times, but I would have to say, if you take out all the bad times, best time of my life. Met
Yeah,
some of the best people in my life, even though some are not with us no longer. The memories, man, the brother, like I got a brother right now that was there for the incident with my buddy Ortiz, and we still talk. We've talked ever since we got out. The last time we seen each other was we took a trip. His parents actually let us use his time or their timeshare, and we got the group together and we had a little soiree in Branson, Missouri. And it's been about 13 years. So we're actually trying to plan up something where we can all meet up again and just reconnect and try to start reconnecting as much as possible within the means of being a family, man or women.
yeah, most definitely, man. That sounds great. It's always awesome to meet up with your old battle buddies, man. I just met up with two of mine last Labor Day, and that was a good time. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out sometimes to meet more and bring everyone back to just have a good time, talk about whatever went on in their life now and where they are and their kids, family. That's cool, man.
And see, that's the
Um,
beautiful thing about, like, us. We don't know each other really that much at all, than other than what we talked about.
yeah,
But we can both be open, because just because we never met, we're both brother in arms.
yeah,
And that's the beautiful thing about that. To me, is one of the most beautiful things about the military is, don't matter what branch you was, even though we talk crap about each other,
yeah.
it don't matter nothing. When push comes to shove, we have each other's backs. And that's the reason why, that's a really big thing for me in the military community, is we always have each other's backs, no matter, what hell or high water we're, trying to get through.
Yeah, most definitely, dude. And it's like that's one thing I struggle with a lot when I try to get these civilian jobs, probably the same way you did. But the one beauty about the civilian jobs, I mean, I wouldn't recommend this but man, I went through like 12 jobs when I first got out because it just couldn't be a part of what was going on, man. It's not the same as a army unit or a military unit. It doesn't matter. Like you said, there's so much more professionalism and all that stuff. Usually within the ranks. Now there are toxic times and toxic units out there that people may have
Man,
faced. So it's not like we're gonna speak that everything's amazing, but it's good and bad in everything. If you're in the army, if you're in church, it's gonna be good and bad everywhere, man. It doesn't matter where you are. That's just how the world's set up, right? So, I mean, if you could think, all right, two more questions for you, at least I got for you. First one would be, if you could recommend something for like the military or the army, since you're in the army, to do better for veterans transition out. I know you've been out for a while, same as me. Like, in your time, what would you have recommended for it to be like, man, I wish they had this available for me when I got out? Like, do you have anything that rings a bell?
it's hard to pick, because due to the simple fact, there's so
Pick
many
a few.
things.
Pick a few that. What's like first one or two that come to your mind that be like, man, they should have had something for this. Like,
Credit building, because in order, more than anybody, in order to be able to do certain things, credit building, it's basically, I'm just going to do a flat thing: how to deal with money, credit, etc., in the whole money field. Because, you know we want to sit there and put these men and women out, or if they retire out, we don't want to just leave them hanging.
right.
So that would be one thing I really would want them to focus on, is making sure that they give them right tools, and not just being like, hey, watch these videos. Like, actually put time and effort instead of having people like me that's trying to do something like that. Why don't you take the initiative and do it yourself so veterans ain't got to do that? We can focus on other issues. But, the military is not doing that. So that's the reason why you see so many veterans out there trying to change that game in order to make sure that we don't got to worry about, the number increasing of veteran suicides or homeless veterans or starving veterans. Those words in front of veterans should never be even, you wouldn't think would be plausible, but and that's what a lot of people, they think that when we get out the army we're going to live these lavish lives and stuff. No, we have a lot of men and women out there that have, gave them blood, sweat, and tears and some their lives, and here we are, struggling just to make ends meet, and that's not right.
Yeah, you right about that, man. I mean, something that came to mind when you just said that, honestly, was my last deployment. Even all the deployments, really, but my last deployment, man. We went to Afghanistan and we went down there and we just, would go to one cop, like a combat outpost. That's what that stands for. Not a damn police officer. Dude, we left one. They give it to the ANA. It's like ran over by the Taliban the next day. Next one, another month, shut that one down, run over. It's like, dude, the money that was what I'm trying to get at, is the money that was thrown away or budgeted, whatever you want to call it, to be, proper and, in these countries and these wars, man. Like, they could have done so much. They could have made, you could do, the opportunities are endless. They could use that money for veterans. They could have used it for other civilians, whatever the case may be. But it's just like, man, when it was time to leave all those, not talking about the embassy or Kabul, but before that, even in 2013, man, they were just giving all those containers and all that equipment and all those Humvees. They just gave it all to the Afghanis or the Iraqis, man, no matter where they were. But it's just like, you just see stuff like that and you're just like, man, there's a total disconnect here, because like you just said, why are there veterans on the side of the street, man? Obviously, it's going to take something for each and every one of us to take action in our own life. We can't just have a pity party and do nothing, right? But at sometimes, dude, how are you going to, man, even for someone like me, I was living with my mom and dad and a pregnant girlfriend at the time, dude, after being an NCO in the Army, doing my own thing, living all that. So it was definitely a culture shock. But how are you supposed to save up enough money to get to do first last security deposit? I even had to find the JFCS, which is the Jewish Family Community Center, which helped me get into my first place, man. Because how was I going to save up $10,000 or $5,000 if I'm making $13 an hour, paying, I got a Cadillac, nice car when I was in the Army. My car payment's $400. My my insurance went up to $400 a month because I got so many speeding tickets, driving crazy. And it's like, dude, I'm paying $800 a month to drive my car. That's not even to put gas in it. Then never mind going to eat. And dude, not too many people are gonna want to, live on top of their parents if they're so used to doing everything themselves, man. That shit was a huge mental mind warp for me, dude. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
just like
oh yeah.
something like, I don't know, man. I just thinking of all that, I guess all came out at once like that. But man, it's definitely a struggle, dude. But I guess the moral of the story is you never gave up. I never gave up. We're never gonna give up. We're dads. We're soldiers, dude. We're struggling, but we're still going through it, man. This is what it's all about. Getting on here, being vulnerable, man. Just telling your story, because there's other people listening to trash right now, whether it's the news, whether it's music, whether it's sports or whatever, man. But like, what are we doing to help ourselves? What are we doing to fill our mind? What are we doing to help one another? Like, where'd that leadership go or stuff like that? You don't got to do it all day, every day. But dude, even if you just called one person that you never talked to in a while, you never know what could happen. Because one of my old soldiers called me the other night, man, and we talked for like a couple hours, and he called me like 3 or 4 in the morning, but I still answered the call. And his two cousins just got shot. One got killed, one in ICU, dude. What if I wouldn't answer the call? I'm not saying he would have done nothing, but just like, dude, we gotta. What I'm gonna say is I'm always gonna be there. If I didn't answer, it's probably because I was sleeping on the phone or whatever. I'm not trying to blow nobody off, because sometimes I'm looking for someone to talk to just to talk and blow off steam or whatever like that. So it's like, man, we're so connected, but we're so disconnected, dude, because some people just don't connect no more, bro.
Oh yeah.
What I got challenged, dude. I just started thinking about this like last two videos or one video. I want to, end it. If you don't got anything else to say, you can more than welcome. But you want to send like a call to action or a challenge to any of your battle buddies or friends that might want to, jump on here and share their story or, take action in their own in their own life to help others.
Advocacy. If there's some way, some special skill, and we all have special skills because we're soldiers, or sailors, or grunts, whatever you want to call yourself. We have the opportunity to change the course and actions of what happens in this country, what happens in our veteran community. If it not be an advocate, try like me. I try to run for office, and because I have a different mindset, I don't slide to either side of the spectrum when it comes to politics, Republican and Democrat. I'm a veteran, and that's what I stand for. I still stand for the American people, but try to be the change, but remain humble and don't let that power, like whether it be on social media, on a executive level, and anything you do it to try to change the game in some kind of advocacy way, but just make sure that you don't lose who you are, because that's what makes us. I mean, I hate using the Marines things, but we are the few, the proud, because there's not many men and women that are willing to sit there and sacrifice their own life for a country. But at the same time, and I hate bringing this up, but like you had said, I'm all about helping other countries and us working together to help them through. But let's for a while take a break and fix the problems we got here. Once
For
we get
real,
this
dude.
situated, then we can start helping everybody out. But let's get here fixed, because we got too many issues going on in our veteran community, in our national community, and not just veterans, that we need to get taken care of. But our veterans are probably suffering the absolute worst when it comes to so many things. And I'm not trying to take anything from civilians, but
Yeah, you're
that's
good.
just cold hard facts.
Nah, dude, you're absolutely right, man. The crazy thing is too, while we on that, I remember one of my buddies called me when I was working overseas or we're checking up. I'm like, "What you doing now?" He's like, "Man, I'm out here in the desert, like out in Arizona or New Mexico or something like that." I'm like, "What you doing out there, man?" He's like, "Man, we're building refugee camps for all the people coming over from Afghanistan and Mexico or something like that, or it's mostly Afghanistan." I'm like, and that's not a lie because they were all going to Fort Dix and getting vaccinated and getting
Mhm.
money and getting jobs. Is like, dude, why don't y'all build a refugee camp or whatever you want to call it, a camp for the veterans that are displaced, so they can all come report in, and then try to get them on track instead of like, I don't know, man. Hey, you're right though, dude. I'm all for helping other people too, but we got to sometimes help ourselves and our own before we shell out that stuff. But that, yeah, like you said, I'm not political at all. Like that is like right or wrong. But
It's
hey,
crazy you said Fort Dix though, because like my brother, being 27 years, I traveled to a lot of Air Force bases, spending summers.
yeah,
Um, Tyndall Air Force Base, and that's when I before and when I was in the military. Barksdale and Shreveport, Randolph, down in these are all Air Force bases. Little Rock Air Force Base, Fort Dix, McGuire Air Force Base. They were combined. My brother was actually there when the trade centers got hit. I was actually at the trade centers 2 months prior to them getting hit. That kind of still blows my mind. And everybody, it's bad that we got to have something like the World Trade Centers happen for our country to come together. But that right there, when that happened, even though I kind of knew I was always going to go in the military, that was kind of what this was. Well, that put the final nail in the coffin for me. Was the way we was told, you know, um, and I ain't going to get into that kind of stuff, because then people start thinking, this person is one of those. I forgot what you call them, conspiracy theorists,
yeah, it's all good, man. We saved that for a
and
paid program for them.
and then it's just like why I don't watch the news, fear tactics,
Yeah,
propaganda.
dude.
I want to live my life every day and know I'm doing the best I can. I don't need to be influenced by anything. The only influence I need is my son, and he influences me to be a better man every day. and try to, you know, do what I can when I can for who I can.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Got to take my hats off to you for doing that. And like you said, the news, man, like back in,
Likewise.
yeah, I appreciate that. Back in the day, they said like, I don't know, Time Magazine used to like report like 80% positive stuff. Then the numbers dropped, and then like they just started reporting that negative. That negativity sells, man. Everyone likes to see what's going on in the world so they can sort of forget about their own problems. When, like you said, dude, like problem's still gonna be there, man. After you turn that CNN or whatever, dude. I'm just using that as an example. It's still gonna be there, but hey, man,
You've seen the Dark Knight movies, right?
yeah,
Batman.
yeah,
Great actor. May he rest in peace. But he said something in that movie that resonates to me to this very day, just like Rambo. Well, actually, it was the new Rocky. The quote, don't, it's not per word, but Heath Ledger as Joker sit there and said a lot of people, when they was in the boats, a lot of people would rather watch the world burn.
yeah.
But just like with the Batman, also comes what was the other movie I mentioned?
Rambo.
Rambo.
No, you
Okay,
said no. Then you
Sylvester
said Rocky.
Stallone.
Then you said Rocky 2 or something.
It
My
was
bad.
the new Rocky where he was the old Rocky when he first he did his first match after this was Rocky right after Rocky 5. It was years later. It was his first Rocky movie after a long separation.
Yeah,
And this is more a quote for people in general, but he was talking to his son at that one part where he's like, if you know what you're worth, then go get what you get. But it basically what it boiled down to in that moment was he said, you're not a." He's like, that's what cowards do, and that's not you. Like that part of the movie where he's talking to his son.
yeah,
That right there, that whole little speech he gave to his son. He's like, when you're a baby, I can hold you in my hand. And he's like, this kid's going to do great things. And then he gets into, casting shadows and stuff and that whole conversation. But two things that really resonate to me, and I know they're movies, and I love watching movies. I love the Fast and Furious things because I'm a big family person, even though my family's torn apart. But there's
yeah,
still another family I got out there, and that's my military family and the people, my real folks. But I'm very big on stuff like that. Like, I'm a very big family person, and the military community, we are one big family and a prouder family to be a part of.
yeah. Most definitely, dude. So, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on here today, Justin and Sharon. And I'd be happy to sit down with you anytime, man, and talk about what we talked about before. But I appreciate you coming, bro.
No problem, man. You have a blessed day. And to all our brothers and sisters, stay strong. We're going to get this fixed and we're going to do it together.
Hey, most definitely. And like we were talking about earlier, man, 22 or 44, man, all those numbers are way too high. Like that's not the answer. So, check on your friends, check on your family, check on your battle buddies, even if you might have not got along with them, man. You never know what a conversation might do for somebody. So you don't know what anyone's going through. Nobody knows what anyone's going through unless you tell them. And sometimes, it just takes a conversation to change someone's life. So appreciate you,
Amen.
bro. Looking forward to what's to blossom with our relationship, bro. Have a good one. Thanks everybody for listening in. Until next time, y'all have a blessed one.